This is Sue, the Power Seller here, and I'm coming to you today with another great episode on how to sell cars with confidence. Today's video is going to be on the price objection, so stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. Well, I hope you all are doing fine. I had a great weekend myself. I'd like to dive right into it because the price objection is something that I get questions on more than anything. And I want to say right now, I don't think that I get questioned about this so much because it's the biggest or most common problem. But I think the reason that people are asking about the price objection, and this is just what I get from talking with people, finding out their whole experience, it's not because they get the price objection a lot, it's because they fear it. And so if you're a car dealer, I want you to think really carefully about how many times you get this price objection in your experience. If you're a really new car salesman and you're listening, and that describes most of the people that click on here, it's possible you've never even encountered a price objection. It's just kind of been like, I'm not interested or something else. And it could be that you've been conditioned to think, oh, cars are really expensive. But I want you to know something. People that go on a car lot generally are not looking to waste your time, and they know cars cost money. Of course, most people want the best deal that they can, and this can sometimes be an issue. But if you vet people properly, meaning you take the time to get to know them and find out what their budget is, the price objection shouldn't be coming up a whole lot. So if you're getting a price objection a lot and you do sell some cars, but a lot of them are leaving because they don't have the money, you might want to check to make sure that you're properly vetting them to make sure that they actually have the money. So let's talk about that, because the truth is, you can't sell someone a car they can't afford and that they don't want to go. I mean, if they went into debt, they wouldn't be able to pay the bills, and you wouldn't want to do that, really, if you're ethical. So the only reason you should be getting this objection, if it's truly the reason, I think, doesn't this make sense to you? If someone can afford the car and they need the car, and you found this out from talking to them and they like it and everything's right, you shouldn't be getting that, well, I think it's kind of expensive. So it all comes down to several factors. Now, the main one really is knowing their budget before you begin. And I do have a bunch of videos going into the nuances of just about, I think, actually every point I'm going into today, except for the actual price issue, which we're getting to right now. But as far as the nuance of vetting them and finding out what they need, we have several videos that cover that if you go to the playlist and look. And later we're going to upload right on this podcast some slides showing you which ones to go to. Go through the whole playlist if you don't quite know how to find out what's in their budget. But just in case you don't, I'm going to recap it for you very quickly. Okay, so you've got them out on the lot, and so important that you know what you're doing. Here's why. If you aren't developing trust and rapport with your customer, they're not going to believe you when you tell them, that's my final offer. And we're going to get to how you present that in a second. So you really want to be sure that you're solid on how to build trust and rapport. And again, we have videos covering that. But let's say you've done that. Let's say that you've been browsing this podcast for a while and you've found some good episodes covering all of this. You've really studied it. And you're like, okay, I know how to do it. I know how to approach the customer without freaking them out. I know how to slowly build trust and rapport. And you do all that. One of the things you need to make sure you do when you buy the vehicle with them, and you've got them to the point where you're showing them the different vehicles, you haven't spooked them, got to watch that video, guys, on how to approach the customer. But you've got them at a place where you know they trust you, or at least they're not scared of you, because so many people are skittish. It's not that they don't have the money. That's not why people run away. It's because they don't want to hurt your feelings if they have to tell you no, or they don't want to be pressured, or they really are looking for a car, but not today. You got to watch that video, guys. So many times I end up going over the videos again when I'm giving a lesson like this, just to make sure you get it. But if you've got it, if you know how to approach your customer, when you got them over by the cars, the genre of cars that they're looking at, just be sure when you're casually watching them to see what they want to talk about, so you don't, run them off thinking you're pushy. When they get to the point where they're asking questions about different cars and different features, you want to show them different cars, like if it's vans. You want to show them different makes and models and mention the price range. You don't have to mention the absolute price because, again, there's going to be some negotiating going on. But what you can do to vet them is just to say things like, this type of van, this type of model generally runs between, and give it a range of several $1,000s, just give it a reasonable price. And I wouldn't say this specific model. I would just say, this van generally is. Now, if they pin you down and say, how much does this van cost? I would tell them the cost that your lot is selling it for if the price is not already displayed, because different people do this different ways. Used car dealerships and new car dealerships all have different ways they handle the whole price point thing. But, give them a range so that they know if that's in their budget. And I wouldn't limit it to one car. I'd say, this type of car here, this and this and this generally run within this range. This more upgraded type over here generally runs within this range, and give them an actual range of prices. And that way you don't have to poke around and find what their budget are. Here's what I want you to know. People don't generally drive cars that they're not seriously considering as a possible car to own. I'm not saying it will never happen. I mean, if you get two people in there with sag pants, reeking of weed, laughing and saying, "I want to drive the Lamborghini," and they got shred pants on, you might kind of question their sincerity. But that does not generally happen. People do not generally go about just looking to milk salespeople for their time. This is a big purchase, and I think most people would find that quite intimidating to just waste their time wandering through a car lot. You would, right? I don't think that's how I'd want to spend my time if I didn't need a car. So be aware of that, and when they do want to test drive that car, if you've told them a price range of the car they're in, then they're not as likely to bring up a price objection and go, "Oh, that's way too high." And most people don't do that. Most people kind of know if they get in a very expensive car, they're going to, what to kind of expect. But what you more get with the price objection is generally just not someone, driving something out of their budget. That's my rooster in the background. I apologize. Yes, I have a pet rooster. You'll hear him if you stick around long enough. You're going to hear him in the background. But really what you mostly get is just people, they're like, "I want a deal. I know what this costs." And that's probably what, most people are paying. But I'm telling you, some people just don't think they've done their job as a good, diligent consumer if they don't ask for some kind of lower price than what you give them. And that's probably true. That's a good practice to have. So what you have to know before you go out on the showroom floor or before you approach someone in the parking lot, you have to be solid on what your boss says is the price that he's willing to let you come down on. Because if you don't have that down, then what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to be out on the sale room floor or in the parking lot, and your customer is going to say something like this. In fact, this is almost always what they're going to say. "So is that your lowest price?" They might say something more gracious like, "Can you go any lower like that?" But sometimes it's just cutthroat to the point. How do you answer that? Is that the lowest you can go? And you might think, "Man, I know the lowest I can go, but I don't want to go that low with you, because if I go that low with you, I'm dipping into my commission." So what you can do instead is just say, "Well, I can take it down to this." And you tell them the price that's kind of like your choke point, like, "Man, if I go too much lower than this, I'm not going to get a great commission." But if you really want the sale and they're like, "Oh man, I don't know, I want to go even lower than that," you need to find out ahead of time from your boss what his choke point is. And again, choke point is just that point where if you get any lower than that, you're going to be gasping, going, "Oh man." And your boss has it too, Everybody gets a profit here. You do and your boss does. So just know ahead of time what the price point is when you go into this. One thing you don't ever want to do is you don't ever want to do the walk off the lot game. And the walk off the lot game, just in case you don't know, is when you tell someone your lowest price, and as they're walking off the lot, they're like, "No, that's just too much." They're walking off. And then you call them back and you offer them $5 less than your final price. If you do that, people aren't going to trust you. They won't ever know what your lowest price is. So the best way to overcome any tendency of them to think that you're just playing a game, is to from the very beginning shoot straight with them. Don't pressure them to get a car that's outside of their budget. Take them exactly to the cars they want to look at. Don't try to upsell them. And you want to develop trust and rapport. Now, if you haven't watched it yet, I want you to watch the video, How to Develop Rapport with Your Customers. This is an animal house. You're going to hear pets making noise. Okay. So I like animals and I like people. And you really do need to like people if you're going to sell, because if you don't, it can be annoying when, you get someone out there and you think everything's going good. Maybe they're Mr. Moneybucks, or if they're not, they're sure putting out a good front. You do your due diligence, you show them everything, and what do they say? Well, I need to sleep on it. And you're like, well, dang, I'm not selling you a mattress. What is this? So sometimes when people say they need to think about it, what they really might be saying is, I need to look at the competition before I give you an answer. Now, if you haven't already watched my video, the 3 common objections people have, you need to watch that, because sometimes when people give you a different objection and it's not the price objection, sometimes that really is what they mean by, oh, I got to ask my wife, or oh, I need to think about it. So if you haven't yet, watch that video, the 3 common objections. But this video is specifically on the price objection. Okay, so what do you do if you've got the price down solid with your boss? He's told you the absolute lowest that he can go, and you want to get that ahead of time. If you don't get that ahead of time, it's so awkward. If they're like, tell you what, how about if I take it down to this? So you need to really do to your boss what your customer's doing to you. You need to positively pin him down to the absolute lowest price he can go, and if you develop rapport and trust with your boss, he'll trust you that you won't pull out the absolute lowest price thing every chance you get, because all bosses want to make sure that they get maximum profit, but you want to make sure too. So don't always give the very lowest that you can go. If anyone asks you, so what's the very absolute lowest that you can go, you can always honestly say this. You can honestly say, well, of course I'm a salesperson and I don't have the authority to take it down to like cost. Obviously none of us would be getting a profit here. And, we couldn't stay in business if we do that. But I can tell you that I can take it down as much as this. And if they're like, well, can your boss okay you taking it down anymore? You do not want to do this. You don't want to be the dork chasing your boss down. Please don't do that. That's degrading to you. And here's another dynamic that happens in sales. And I want you to think about this. When someone's got you out in the back 40 digging up your boss and it degrades you, you lose respect in their subconscious, maybe not consciously, but now they've got you out running and doing your bidding. That is never a place you want to be in sales where you're in desperate mode. So if they ask you that, you want to honestly be able to say that actually is the lowest I can go down. And if they say, would you ask your boss? You have to say, ma'am or sir, I already asked my boss. This is standard. I can't get it okayed any lower than this. This is the lowest I can possibly go. Now, if they trust you and you've built credibility, they should go along with that and they should trust that. But what do you do? What do you do if you've done all of that and they're like, that's just not low enough? It could be that they want to check out the competition. And so one thing you can do, and you could check out your competition too to know just how high or low their prices are, but that's pretty time consuming. And frankly, you'd probably have to play a game yourself where you pretend you're the customer. You wouldn't want someone doing that to you. So a better way to do this is to ask your boss ahead of time, are there any rebates on any of these cars? Now, they're probably advertising it if there are, but sometimes the companies of these car places have rebates you might not even be aware of, and maybe your boss isn't. So you could dig around online a little bit just in case you get someone like they can't afford to pay it, but they're going to walk off and find the lowest place they possibly can. Just be aware of any rebates or perks that you all have, because you might know of a rebate that your competition doesn't know of. But while we're on that note, your competition might be lower than you. It might be. I don't know where you work, and I don't know what the profit margin is that your boss insists upon, but that could happen. And the best thing to do is just not to let the customer get off the lot. If you can't meet a price that your boss is comfortable with, and frankly that you're comfortable going with, because you got to have some commission here too, right? It dips into your commission. It doesn't just dip into your boss's profit. And obviously, when you're first starting out, you're probably just going to take the lowest you possibly can. It's going to be almost impossible to resist to not do that. So I'm not even going to try to talk you out from giving your customer the lowest rock bottom price you have, because listen to me, all salespeople are afflicted with this belief system that cars are so expensive, and they are. But the people that come to buy them from you, the car salesmen, probably have more money than you. Maybe not if they do a lot of financing, but if you look at if you work at a luxury car shop, then for sure. I mean, these highly expensive cars, people know they're expensive when they go in there. So please get it out of your head that everybody is just looking for the best deal they can get, because that's not all that people are looking for. People are looking for a car salesman that they can trust, because if they trust you, they don't think you're going to lie to them. And really, people want someone with credibility, but people also want to buy from someone that they like, okay? And I can give you an example of that later. I'll give you one briefly. Like, if you could buy from somebody that acts like just a complete body part, a complete jerk, or somebody that was just very gracious, very kind, didn't have an attitude, totally let you take your time, wasn't pushy, I want to know, if you were looking to get a deal and you knew that one person was $100 lower than the other, I don't know. I think there's people that would just suck up that $100 and go with the person they liked. If for nothing else, then they just don't want that guy to get the commission. Because people will not buy from you even if they need what you have, unless they like you. If they don't like you, for sure they won't. So if you get people to trust you and you get people to like you, I'm not talking about some do or die situation, end of the world scenario, where you'd buy butter and bread from someone you couldn't stand. But you get what I'm saying. Be sure that you are as likable and as trustworthy as you can be. Go out of your way to get them all the information that they need in the beginning. Give them all the space that they need to make the decision that they need to make, and be as helpful as you can during the test drive. If you haven't yet, and I know I'm recommending videos left and right, but they really go in depth. Watch what to say on a test drive before you leave this episode today. Okay, so now we've talked about the importance of getting your customer to really trust you and like you, because if they do, they're not as likely to run off to some dealership down the road and save a few bucks here and there. If they like you and they trust you, they're going to be looking for a reason to buy from you. And so unless the price is astronomical, well, it shouldn't be out of their budget if you did this right, they'll probably buy from you. But here's the last thing I have to say. I'm not going to tell you that you can do everything right and you can always sell to your customer, because sometimes there's just someone, they're just like, no. They can meet the price. It's really not too high for them, but they're like, no, like later, like mañana. And I'm not even going to say these people are jerky, but some people are just conditioned to say no. Something about them, they have no in their DNA. Well, what you need to do is you need to give them an offer that is too good to refuse. But how are you going to do that, really, when you got to the lowest you possibly can? And you're like, I really think this person needs to buy from me. I think they like what I have. And it's frustrating because you kind of want to take them and go, you really need to buy this car today, and not just because I want you to. I can tell this is what you need. And you can sometimes tell from the reaction you get that they're jazzed. Well, what you can do when someone is just kind of being a tire kicker at this point, kind of like, and they're really looking for a car, is just say this. Just say, when you've exhausted all other options, please do not use this like some recreational drug for a quick high of getting a sale. Excuse me, I want you to listen to me very carefully here. The lead generation tool, the closing tool I'm going to tell you about, is very effective, but I don't want you to substitute it for using good salesmanship practices. I really don't. But it is very powerful, because our research shows 95% of the time, and it's not exactly 95%. I can get you the exact statistic if you want, but 95% of the time, customers will go ahead and close if they're ready to buy and they're kind of hemming and hawing, and they're just kind of like, if you throw in a vacation. But it has to be a good vacation. It has to be something that's not, go to Branson for 2 days and listen to a timeshare for 24 hours. And you need to be able to tell them that. So what you do is, if they're kind of on the fence and they're like, and they don't really quite know. They're offering to bring in their wife, but they're really ready to buy. You just say, listen, would it make a difference if I threw in a cruise for 2 to the Bahamas? And they'll be like, yeah, why not? Now, am I going to tell you that they'll always say, yeah, why not? No. But will they usually? Our statistics show that they will. So, if you've exhausted every other method because you don't want to not learn how to sell, you don't just want to get a bunch of vacations and pass them out like candy to get people to buy. And it probably takes more than that, really, I haven't personally tried that. I haven't given someone a vacation to go, hi, I'm Sue. You want a vacation for buying a car today? That wouldn't work. But try it out at the very end of a really tough sale and see if that works for you. So today, and this is for this week only. So today is March the 11th. So just in 7 days, it's going to be completely over. This offer is not going on. But at no charge to you, you can go and download a complimentary vacation voucher that you can gift your next client with if they're on the fence about buying. So here's the URL. It's vacationbetter.blog. Now, it's not a .com. Okay? There's no dashes. It's just vacationbetter.blog. Now, I don't want to offend you men out there, but most men can't spell, okay? Al Gore spelled potato with an E. He was a vice president once, in case you're real young. But let me just spell that for you. It's VACATION B as in boy, ETTER.blog. Vacationbetter.blog. When you go there, if you don't want to have to send in the customary cost to get a voucher mailed to you, because that does cost money normally, but I'm not going to do that this time. You're on your honor to print out the very best vacation voucher that you can. So you need to cut, copy, and paste it. Put it in an email for your copy print place and ask them to make you copies, and they'll make it look really good. So if you don't want to pay a dime today, if you don't want to send in $10 to get a beautiful vacation voucher in the mail, you can download this yourself and print it off. If you want a beautiful voucher mailed to you from me, sure, go ahead. That's on the main page. Send in an application. Tell the dealership you're with, your name. I'll be sure to get a customized vacation voucher out there for your customer. It's got your information on it. It looks really snazzy. But if you just are like, I am scared to death to sell, and I'm just so tired of people walking off the lot, and you really feel like you need the confidence of a closing tool in your hand, and you just need something now, maybe you didn't get paid yet, and probably you're new. So just go on the website, vacationbetter.blog, go up to the upper right-hand corner on YouTube offer, click it, and then cut, copy, and paste the vacation voucher that you see it as full color, and you're on your honor to make the voucher look the best that you can. So if I get customers mailing me a bunch of cruddy-looking vouchers, you printed it in black and white, it's gross, I'm never going to do this again. But for this week only, because there are some new people out there that are really struggling with going out on the showroom floor, and they're scared, and they want something in their back pocket to whip out if they hit a blank, like beep, test pattern. Go ahead, download one. Now it's just one. Use it until you get your first sale. And then when you know they work, go ahead, go on the main page, send in your $10. You can try it up to 3 more times before you get into our vacation package. Now, I'm not going to go into all of that today. This is just to get you started. The purpose of this video is mostly to help you sell, but if you need a little more, go ahead and check that out at vacationbetter.blog. And before you leave today, I'd like you to subscribe to my channel if you like what you hear. But if you don't, or if you do, or if you just want to say or ask something, be sure to leave a comment in the section down below. I love hearing from you all. And that's all we have for now. This has been Sue the Power Seller. I hope to see you again next week. And until then, I will see you on the selling side. Bye for now.